Welcome to my channel, The Binge Eating Therapist. I'm Sarah, former binge eater turned psychotherapist, and my mission is to use this space to bring content to you that will help you understand your struggle with food and break free from binge eating. And this one is a really big topic for most people who are struggling with binge eating, and it's all about weight loss. And I don't talk about my own weight very much at all on social media or on this channel, because I think that sort of at best it can be unhelpful for people because they might try to make comparisons, and at worst it could potentially be actively triggering for somebody for me to be talking about my weight gain or weight loss. So I want to be really sensitive in the way that I talk about it. But what I do want to say is that I know what it's like to, in the space of a couple of months, go up a couple of clothes sizes in a very short space of time. I know what it's like to overnight have nothing in your wardrobe that fits you, seemingly overnight I should say, not literally. And I know what it's like to bump into people that hadn't seen me for a couple of months and see on their faces them do a double take as they take in my bigger body with their eyes, and how humiliating that felt. And people don't say anything about weight gain, but they've got plenty to say when you're losing weight. So if you're gaining, you're left kind of with your own mind to only imagine what people might be thinking and how terrible that must be that they can't even say what they're thinking. And in my attempts to recover from binge eating, after quite a few years, it took a long time, I could see how the focus on weight loss increased binge eating for me. It would be that, so I'd go through periods where I was binging every day, and I would go to bed at night and put my head on my pillow and swear to myself that tomorrow would be different, and I would plan out what I was going to eat tomorrow, and it would be not enough, it would be a deficit, and inevitably that wouldn't happen. I would just end up binging again because I was stuck in that binge-restrict mindset, even though I didn't do a great deal of actual restricting, but I kept planning to, and that can keep triggering off the binge eating response. So when I finally realised how much this focusing on, or it was this belief that I had that I should always be eating in a deficit, even if it was slight, and anything that wasn't a deficit was not good. And so as soon as I felt like I hadn't eaten in a deficit, that whole kind of I've blown it thinking would come in, and I would just binge, because I would think I've got to eat all the food now because tomorrow I'm going to go back to, or I'm going to try to, or I'm going to make sure, because I really believed it every time. That was the thing. I would like deceive myself every day that tomorrow was going to be different, and it kept triggering it off over and over again. So when I finally really learned, and by learned it's not just a realization, so I can give you this information, but it's almost like even though you know it, until you realize it for yourself, it's hard to do anything with it. So some of you might be in the contemplation stage where you're just thinking about this idea of like, what would it mean to give up focusing on weight loss? Is that something I want to do? Is it something I need to do? And you might not be there yet. So I just ask you to consider the things that I'm saying. And so I would stop focusing on weight loss. I would be much more present with my food, and the binging would reduce. And then over a couple of weeks, I would start to notice that my weight had gone down a little bit. And each time that I noticed my weight had gone down a bit, I'd get really excited, and that old desire to lose weight would be fired back up again. And then it wouldn't even be a conscious thing, but I would then be over focusing on the food again, and I would start judging my food decisions more. And then inevitably at some point I wasn't going to be happy with my food decisions. I would feel stressed, I'd feel anxious, and that would just go into a full-blown binge, and I would be back in the cycle again, stuck. And so it just really became about, I think for me, getting to a point, it wasn't an overnight thing. It wasn't this one-off decision that I'm not going to focus on weight loss. Now for you, if your weight is at a higher level from where it wants to be as a result of binging, then if you are able to stop binging or reduce binging, you're likely to see some weight changes. However, if there's a lot of restriction going on in between binges, it may go the other way. And I think that's why being in that restrictive place is in some ways like more terrifying, because if you let go of the control, it's that feeling that you'll never get it back again. But focusing on weight loss as the goal, and I think, like for me, I really saw weight loss as the goal. I thought if I could lose weight, that would somehow be confirmation that I'd overcome this binge eating problem. And it becomes outcome focused instead of process focused. So your weight is a result of all those micro decisions you make throughout the day about food. It's about what you eat, but it's also about your biology as well. And so the body knows how to lose weight. And in order to lose weight, the body has to draw on its own energy stores, whether that's fat, or even it can break down muscle and use muscle for energy. And that, whilst the body knows how to do that, that is still a bit of a stress on the body. And particularly psychologically, the kind of place that you're in when you're losing weight is crucial as well. So if you are mentally stressed and you've got this stress on the body, you're likely to feel anxious a lot, you're likely to be stressed, and it's not going to come from a good place. The other thing that people see is that they find that they're losing weight and then something stressful happens in their life, which causes a lot of uncomfortable feelings. So that is an added stress on top of the biological stress of losing weight. When you focus on weight loss, every food decision becomes about, does this bring me closer to or further away from my goal of weight loss? It cuts off that ability or that skill that really we want to develop to become more self-regulated in our own eating. That's the peaceful place. Losing weight won't bring you peace, but feeling self-regulated with your eating will bring you peace. It will give you freedom and it will give you a sense of choice. So when you're focused on whether your food decisions are bringing you closer to or further away from weight loss, it creates a lot of stress around the food decisions themselves, and it creates a lot of guilt. And guilt for a lot of people, guilt and just the belief that they've eaten too much is one of the main triggers for binge eating. So this is one of the reasons why over-focusing on weight loss in recovery is going to constantly derail you, because it's going to rouse feelings of guilt that you're not doing enough, you could be doing more, you shouldn't have eaten that. It starts second questioning. But when you focus on like how you want to make those micro decisions, what do you want the intention to be behind what you eat? Because that's the big thing, is when weight loss is the intention behind what we eat, we can get ourselves in trouble if food has been a source of anxiety and if we're prone to binging. But if our intention behind what we eat is to find satisfaction, if our intention is to be present and conscious when we're eating and of our food choices, that's very different. But that will change your behaviour, and for some people that will result in weight changes. And so I don't think this is something that you can just hear once. For most people, it's not about hearing this once and being able to give it up like that. It may be a daily decision, a daily commitment, or you may not even be there yet. I can't sit here and say that this is exactly what happens for everybody in the world who focuses on weight loss in binge eating recovery. I can only see the generalisation. I'm drawing on my own experience here and generalisations that I've seen on working with other people. And everyone wants to be the anomaly. Everyone wants to be the person who can focus on weight loss, lose weight, get control of their eating and never binge again. And so in order to find out for you whether that's true, I think it just involves being really honest with yourself. And if I put it like this, if I were to ask you, like, how do you think your life would be different if you weren't thinking about weight loss and you weren't thinking about food all the time? How much mental energy gets taken up with that? And people think that if they lose the weight, then their mental energy will be freed up. But quite often, even if you lose the weight, there's the fear of regaining the weight. You know how to binge, you know what it's like to experience strong urges to binge, so you may still be fighting with them and thereby thinking about food constantly. So people want to lose weight because they think they'll feel better. But I wonder what else might make you feel better, like where to put your focus so that you feel better on this journey moving away from binge eating. And I think that daily decision not to focus on weight loss just for today is helpful. And it involves as well accepting where you are today. And that might not feel possible to you, but if you're willing to accept where you are, or rather if you're not willing to accept where you are today, you're fighting with reality because this is where you are today. And so if you don't accept it, like you're refusing to accept where you are, so you don't even know where you're starting from. And I think people get confused or they misunderstand acceptance, that, well, if I accept that this is my weight and I'm not going to focus on weight loss, that means nothing will change. And that's not it at all. You're just accepting and making a choice about now. What do you need now for your sanity and your own mental health? And acceptance doesn't change the situation, but it changes you. And it reduces inner conflict, thereby dampening down a lot of the emotional factors that can drive binge eating as well. So those are some of my thoughts about binge eating and weight loss. And as always, curious to hear what you think. So if you've got any comments or responses, please drop them below. And stay well, and I will see you on the next video.